I'm Paul Wilson Jr., founder and CEO of Paul Wilson Global Solutions. I'm also co-host of the Profit Formula podcast.
Hey, my name is Michael Upshaw. I'm the co-host of the Profit Formula podcast.
And I'm excited to announce that we're launching our very first live event, the Profit Formula.
We're going to talk about how to brand and market your business effectively, how to grow opportunities and build profit.
Here at Land of 1,000 Hills Coffee in Old Fourth Ward. Come on in.
I'm going to talk specifically about sales. So you want to
secure your seat at the table May 15th. You have two options, 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. There's limited space, so you want to make sure you register right now.
It's for businesses looking to grow their profits. A lot of times we talk about getting more revenues and getting more customers, but if you're doing all that and you're not profitable, you can't grow a sustainable business.
Lock in the early registration for $199 because it ends May 1st. You don't want to miss it. $199 because it ends May 1st. You don't want to miss it.
There we go. We live.
All right. Welcome to the Profit Formula. Another episode. It's good to be here. I'm
our first live.
Paul Wilson Jr. It is. Yeah, it is. I guess it is the first live. We've done some other live stuff, a lot of other live stuff.
But I think this is the first Profit Formula live.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely great to be back and having some more conversations about how businesses and people can be more profitable in their business and as well as in their life too. From that standpoint. Everything good with you?
Man, everything is good, man. You know, it's raining and we need the rain.
We do.
Talk about profit. Without it, man, it's amazing how when you experience a drought, and then you realize how important the very thing that you need for things to grow.
Exactly.
And without that water, things die.
We get nothing.
Right. So there's no harvest.
Die quickly. Absolutely. No doubt. Like I said, sometimes we think about the rain, think about the inconvenience, but to your point, without it, like nothing grows, right? So we really need, I used to know somebody used to call it liquid sunshine.
There you go. There you go.
It's all in your perspective. Absolutely.
And but no, man, I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Doing good. So we are getting close to the end of the school year. So I have two graduates.
Man, congratulations.
One high school, one college. So that's been interesting. Just beginning to wind that process up. But, you know, those endings are really new beginnings. You know what I mean? From that standpoint. So
that's a good way to look at it.
Absolutely. So so a lot of things to get done, but so the family's good. Business is moving in a good direction, and but of course we got something that's moving soon. Together, our live event that's coming up.
It's right around the corner.
I guess it is. Actually, week from tomorrow.
A week from 15th. Man.
Right.
So if you haven't registered, go ahead and register and get your registration in so you could be there with us.
Absolutely good. But I think we're talking about something, of course, off camera that we're gonna focus on today. Think about transition or people having to do multiple things all at once. We're gonna call it the rise of the hybrid-preneur.
There you go.
Right, the hybrid entrepreneur.
First place you ever heard it is on the Profit Formula.
Absolutely. Go research it. I couldn't find it anywhere else.
That's right.
So we're talking about hybrid-preneur. Other people may call it, because we want to distinguish between this and a side hustle, right? Or people may have multiple side hustles. So let's break down side hustle first. Because a lot of people I think are familiar with it, but we're going to create a distinction. Moving away from that term.
No, I think the importance of understanding the value of what we're calling hybrid-preneur is somebody who is 100% committed to what it is that they're doing in business, as well as being 100% committed to what they're doing with their employer. And I think in this way we've probably seen it for years, right? But just really hadn't recognized it as that, And I think that's the sort of thing where it became the side hustle, right? For me, when I think about, side hustle, oftentimes the side hustle doesn't always get the respect as, perhaps it should. Because some people who are, literally hustling, and another word that we use, grinding, and making it happen, they are 100% committed to whoever it is that they're serving. While some side hustles are exactly that. it's a hustle.
It's a hustle. Right.
I'm just trying to do for me and not necessarily for you.
Right.
But a hybridpreneur is somebody that's committed to maintaining a good reputation.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes you don't always hear that, when it comes to people who are just, hey, this is my side hustle.
Right. Absolutely.
And even sometimes when it's, sort of talked about, it's like, this ain't my main thing. This is kind of my side hustle. Right. So that tells me that your focus is not really there.
Right.
But when I think about hybridpreneur, this is somebody who is saying, man, I'm committed on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to make sure that nothing falls to the ground because my reputation is attached to it. Right. And my name actually means something.
Definitely.
So that's what I was thinking when I came up with the term, hybridpreneur.
Absolutely. So we're going to give you credit. First time.
There you go.
Next time you hear it, like, I heard somewhere, right?
right. Somewhere I heard.
Right.
On the profit formula.
On the profit formula, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, just building on that, because I think too, just exactly what you said, the side hustle, like I think for people, is almost also a side attention.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll get to it when I can. I'll do it when I can. Like I said, and I may be using intention just to supplement.
Yeah.
Right. I may have a main job, right, but I'm just kind of supplement. So it's something I maybe can do, maybe not even something I'm really passionate about.
Right.
I'll just kind of, I'm able to do it. But I agree with you. So a hybridpreneur, it is that person who's 100% committed to their job, but also still 100% committed to creating other streams of income and other opportunities. And where I've seen it a lot too is that somebody may be 100% committed to their job, but the passion may not be there, although they're good at what they do.
Right.
But oftentimes they also want to be fully committed to other things that they're really passionate about, and wanting to build that business. So they're going to spend time focusing on whether it be evenings or weekends or sacrificing time, right? Maybe even taking time off the job from time to time, vacation time, PTO, whatever, right, to build this other thing. But the other thing isn't ready to fully support them, right, from that standpoint. Or they may like doing both, right? They may like the work that they do as a full-time employee, but also like these other opportunities that they have or other projects that they're working on. And I think one of the biggest challenges, though, for a lot of people is in the past, and maybe hopefully that's changing now, is that employers were the ones that frowned on that kind of stuff. Like they wanted all your time, even if it was on the weekend. You can't be doing things, with our equipment or conflicts of interest and all of these things. And so I think it stifled a lot of people, or maybe they were doing it in fear. They're doing it. But they got to do it in a way that, to kind of keep it behind the scenes. Right.
You can't necessarily advertise it or broadcast it, that kind of thing.
Which means it can't grow.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great point, because I wanted to look at it from the standpoint as an employer. Right. And thinking about what I found is, why say I want a self-starter when you really don't?
You don't want them to self-start.
I want somebody who's capable of working independently, but I really don't. Right. Because that's what you're looking for. Like to me, what I see in that person is somebody who's a little bit more dedicated to, really making sure that they're succeeding at work. Right.
Absolutely.
Because they want to be able to sort of buy their time back in a way that they can also advance their personal growth in business. Right. And these are people who are generally investing in their own growth.
Absolutely.
Right. And so from that standpoint, because it's the type of employee that I would actually want. Somebody working for me who has the mindset that, man, when I'm here, my reputation here is just as good as my reputation out there. And so I'm not taking away from the company. In fact, I want to make sure that I'm adding more value probably than anybody else, my coworkers. I know in my experience, even, working full time for somebody else and building a business at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't slacking, because one, that's just not who I am. Right.
Absolutely.
The second part is my goal is to outshine, everybody else on the team.
Absolutely.
So, because I want to show that I'm fully capable of being able to manage both of these processes. And if I decide to leave, I leave on a high note. It's not a thing like, oh man, I just want to work myself out of a job. Like that was never my mentality. My mentality was, man, achieve at a high level, do the best that you can. And when you do, they miss something. Right.
Absolutely.
Like
they don't want you to leave.
Exactly. I've had employers, call me back or ask me, hey, would you want to come back to work for me? That's a good place to be. Right. I think, but that came from being a self-starter, being an entrepreneur, thinking like a business owner. And honestly, I learned a lot of that from the people that I work for.
Absolutely.
And so, but being in that space, I think to your point, that you brought out, some employers do frown upon that, which, you know, what's your take on that? Like, you know,
and I can see it from both sides too, right? So I'll talk about the employer, right? Because of course we do know that there are probably so many examples, too many examples of people who have abused it, right? Who are working for somebody and they're not giving them that 100%, right? They're not fully invested in doing a good job there, and they do have this other side thing. So again, if you're paying somebody, you want full value what you're 100%. Getting. So I absolutely 100% agree with that. And we'll talk about, you know, how do you do it well, right? So we can kind of jump into that. But before we go there, right? So I think that's part of it, is having people they believe they can trust, right? Because I think that's a part of the factor too. I'm trusting you to pay you a paycheck. I'm expecting to get a return, right?
100%.
You know what I mean? From that standpoint. The other thing is just the natural constraint of time. Right. Because whether you have one job or 10, we also only have 24 hours in a day, right? And 7 days a week. And so how is that time managed effectively? Right. You know, again, that goes back to the accountability, the responsibilities, and the different roles. And again, it's not just those two jobs. People have families and lives and other things like that too. And so being able to manage your time well. So really, you almost have to think in, you know, systems and processes and structure on both sides, right? Because again, it's not just about effort, right? And I think that's where some people get it off. Is like, well, I'm gonna just burn the candle at both ends, and some, you know, stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning, right? I mean, and that's not very healthy either, right? Because that means there's no way physically you can give 100% if you're getting 2 hours of sleep per night, right? So there's some practical things that definitely have to be done well, but also I think there is a sensitivity, which I 100% agree with from the employer standpoint of, am I getting what I'm paying for, right, from this employee? If they do have these other side opportunities, are they giving me 100%? You know what I mean, from that standpoint. So I can get that.
And you know, you said that, and I thought about it because I know people who work multiple jobs. Right. And so sometimes it's being, you know, an employee at two different places. Right. So if you broke it down, it's a very similar concept. Most of the time, people don't frown on the fact that you have two jobs. But will when it comes to you working for yourself. Now, I agree. I never want anybody to milk the process. Don't be here just because you can get benefits and you can, you know, kind of subsidize certain things because you do have a business, right? And that's why I said, and I want to make sure that just being firm on it is that, you know, you're giving 100% to your employer. Like, I'm not using you to build something else.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's correct.
I'm looking at it as this is an opportunity that I enjoy doing. Right. And I'm glad to be here. And if I never decide to leave, because there's some people that's like, man, I'm gonna retire from this place. This is what I'm gonna do, right? But I enjoy doing this as well. And sometimes the two things don't even have to be in the same space. Right? It's like you could be a painter and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, but you know, you could be a tech and doing something else.
And I think that's part of the fear, I think, of employers. Are you using, you know, my company or our company go get clients and customers and use our resources. So I think which again, that's understandable.
Because now you're a competitor.
Absolutely. Exactly.
No, I agree 100% with that.
And if we look at too, you know, as you mentioned, I think you brought up a good point just about people having multiple jobs, right? Because that's been happening forever. And we don't call that other job the side hustle. We just said they got another job or part-time job. But if we think about it, as much as we talk about, let's say, innovation and creativity, one of the things I think that is still so, I'll call it old-fashioned. And literally old-fashioned is our educational system that really has taught people how to be employees, right? And this literally goes back to the Industrial Revolution, right? Where the educational system literally was built to create employees and managers of employees. So a lot of what we do today, over 120 years later, or more, is still with that same thought process, even in companies, that I'm hiring, to your point, an employee. But we talk about these traits, self-starter, entrepreneurial, you know, all these things. And to me, to be an entrepreneurial thinker, which I think everybody should be, is a problem solver, right? You solve problems and you bring value.
Critical thinking.
That's simple, as you can break it down. You would want every single employee to be that type of person, right? But I think it's better said than actually what is really desired. I really want you to follow directions.
Right.
I really want you to do what I'm telling you to do in the way that I'm telling you to do it.
Yeah.
And if you happen to give me a little extra in that process, I'm going to celebrate it.
Yeah.
But I'm really fearful, if we're honest. Companies are fearful of employees who don't color inside the lines, if you will.
And I think to your point, because a lot of times what I find is there's a failure to maintain efficiency because sometimes people are doing busy work.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's the busy work that to me is the least efficient way to run anything. Right. And so which 10 years down the line leads to you cutting, thousands of jobs. Right. Because you weren't plugging those gaps. And now all of a sudden we looking at the bottom line and we saying, well, you know what? We can probably lose 1,000 people and still be functional because what I would say kind of comes down to misplacement of, people putting them in roles that, anyway, I won't even get that far down the line with that, but it's just the concept, right?
Yeah.
So if you had somebody who instead of cutting their complete job because of efficiency, you would say, hey, we might be able to do this instead. And so there may be a hybrid opportunity that works for you where, you become a part-time employee with, particular benefits. So this way, it may not be the best, from if you're not a hybrid-preneur for you, but for some people, they would say, man, you know what? Yeah, I'll take that opportunity.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? Like, yeah, if you give me that as an opportunity, 100%, and I'm sure that there are people who even right now would be like, man, I would do that than just lose my job altogether. Right?
Exactly. So, absolutely. And I think that just in the days and times we live in right now, it's extremely challenging out there economically.
It is.
Right. And a lot of companies are, of course, cutting jobs.
Yeah.
We just see what's happening across the economy overall. So for some people, to me, this is almost a forced option, if you will. Right. Many are choosing it or have chosen it. But I think for some people, it's a forced option, or they don't realize it's an option. Yeah. Right. It's like, I have my job, or if I lose my job, do I need to go get a same type of job, especially if they're looking at just salary? Right. Or could it be that, I could actually go work at a job and maybe it's not as stressful, right? Maybe I'm going to take a little bit less over there, right? Because I'm also building a business that actually, if I look at my total household income, right, it can supplement the two working together. So I think even just as we go further along, we got to, I think, push more people to think in that manner, right? From that standpoint, because I think it's going to be more of a necessity than an option.
Especially right now, like with the introduction of AI and all the different things that's happening. The job market is continuing to be saturated with people who are looking, right? And so now it's like, man, what are my talents or my gifts or my skills? And perhaps I can offer that from an entrepreneurial standpoint to somebody who may not be looking to hire me full time, right? While I'm on the path to full-time employment. Because for some people, they don't want to be entrepreneurs solely. And that's why they saying, hey, I do want to have, kind of my foot in both worlds so that I can.
Foundation.
Right. And for some, it's, not every body who does something is solely just because they're pursuing more money.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so, so whatever that might be, I'll throw one out that we don't often consider to be a hybrid-preneur. But I'll say the working pastor. Right. We don't think about that all the time. Right. We live in a world where most of the time we think most pastors are full time and that they're getting paid by, the church.
Majority actually are not.
Exactly. Most pastors, I'll use this word, are volunteers. Right. I mean, so, but we don't think about the effort that they put in 100% in the church. And for some who don't get a salary from the church, right, they're not saying, well, man, hey, I'm not really getting a salary, so I'm not going to show up this Sunday, right? Or I'm not going to be at Bible study. I'm not. They're committed, and I'm using that as a way to show that when people are pursuing their purpose, they can be committed to two things at the same time because they realize that this other thing that they're doing is attached to their purpose, while this other assignment can also be attached to their purpose, right?
And that's good, because I think when you talk about purpose, sometimes I think people conflate that with my job, right, or with my career path, and your purpose, right, is bigger than that, right? It can utilize a job, career path, all that. right? But I think it's bigger than that. So yeah, absolutely. You can be doing multiple things that still connect to your purpose, right? That don't have to be in conflict. Don't mean they're the same things. But they also don't have to be in conflict from a purpose, a standpoint.
And that's the thing, man. And that's why I thought that would be a good example of what a hybridpreneur, like, we think about it from the standpoint, I mean, we're ministers, and the whole point is to serve, right? And so, but whatever you're doing in whatever capacity, at work, you serving somebody, right? Absolutely. And so you think about what the exchange is. Right. So as long as I'm here and I'm giving 100% of what it is that, I've promised you, right? It's the same. To me, I even look at it like this. That job, in some sense, to an entrepreneurial-minded person is another client. Right. And so it's like, man, I want to make sure that this client, because if you leave, think about it. You want that client or that employer to be able to give you a good referral. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And so nobody ever leaves a job thinking, this ended bad and I'm going to use you as a reference. Right. Exactly. I remember.
You try to hide that on the resume.
Right. I remember personal experience. I was working at a company and it came to an end. And I remember when I was being let go, he was, like, man, if it's anything I could, do or any referrals. And I was thinking, I would never use you for a referral because it wouldn't be genuine. Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And so I don't want somebody who I know we just didn't have a good relationship to give me a referral. Yeah. I know I did my job right. I know I was good at what I did.
Know the way you say it though is that probably not gonna come
right. Out. And so and that's a show for a different day. Yeah. But because I'm kind of, I look at it like this. If you know that you have done well and served well and all of those things, people should be able to give you a genuine referral. Yeah. Right. But if somebody who is jealous of you, or I'll use another word, envious of you, right? And the reason why you're actually being let go is because of that person's envy. That's probably not the best person to give you a referral, right? I can stand on my own
career advice right there.
Right. So
every referral isn't a good referral.
It's not. And so don't, but always be sure that you leave any place with the same credibility and validation that you came in with.
Absolutely.
Right.
And even more so, right? You got to even enhance it.
Exactly.
While you're there.
And so, I'm gonna look right in this camera right here. For those of y'all that's on, LinkedIn, and y'all looking for jobs, man, please stop putting out. I'm just telling you, it doesn't look good. Like, don't share all your experiences of how bad it was and nobody's hired you yet and all these other things. And, you went to an interview and and I'm just trying to tell you, it's not a good look for employers, right? For other employers that might be looking, I know that you might seem desperate or feel desperate or feel like there's no opportunities coming your way. But I'm telling you, stay faithful, continue to put your brand out there being you, and don't sacrifice your reputation because somebody didn't call you back, right? Because somebody else now is looking at you like, they might not be the right person to have on my team, right? And so that's just my own personal thought, right? When I see it as an employer, I'm like, I really wouldn't want to call you, right? It doesn't matter what your resume says. Now you just took everything on your resume and said, man, if difficult moments show up in your life, this is how you deal with them, right? And so that doesn't scream hire me, right? Exactly. So, and look, I've been there looking for opportunities and things just wasn't going our way. And back then, we just didn't have LinkedIn. But that's just some, I think
wisdom, right? That's some good advice. And practical advice. And so along those lines, this could stay down the path of practical advice. So somebody may be saying, well, I love the concept of a hybrid, preneur. How do I do it? Right. How do I make that transition and what tools could be out there to help me now, which I think now is probably as great a time as any. Right? Just a lot of it has to do with technology that's available that can help you kind of manage time, processes, and systems, right? Without you having to, being in managing the business hands on 100% of the time.
Well, and I'll give some practical examples because I think in this lane, like I think of some of the examples that I saw growing up, right? You know, my mom was a nurse, but I remember she had friends who was nurses, but they sold Avon, right? And so, or her being a nurse, but she had friends that crocheted and you know, they would sell these little things that they would make. Or they would do like these different types of makeup parties or whatever it was. But you might have somebody that they bake cakes, right? And they're really good at baking cakes. And they become that person who's the go-to person for baking cakes, right? So, like, because a lot of times I think we always think in the framework of, you know, technical, or we think in the framework of, you know, all these other things. But what can you do? Like, what's your gift or your talent that could potentially be the thing that you like to do, right? That could be, you know, you might like to paint, and painting might be the thing, right? And so you might like to write, and writing might be the thing. So whatever it is, I think a lot of times that's where people get stuck, is they look too far outside of themselves and what they're actually good at, as opposed to saying, man, you know what, this is what I'm good at. You know, I'll even say like this, you know, I wasn't a photographer until I picked up a camera. You know what I mean? So
you discovered that you loved it.
You know, and so, but experience things and see what it is that you like. Some people already know. But to your point, how do you discover that? Figure it out. Like, think about the things that you enjoy doing. It's no different than people who like to coach kids. They figure out a way, man, you know what, this is what I want to do, I'm gonna coach kids part-time or do this. It's not about the money, it's about, man, me being available and being able to pour into those things. And I think when you don't think so high level and sort of bring it to a practical place in your life, you find it like, wow, you know what, my problem was I was thinking too much, as opposed to looking at what I could do and what I have.
No, and I agree with that, right? Because I think it's looking at your natural talents, like skills and abilities, things that maybe are already around you. I would also say, I think something that people often overlook is what other people can you work with?
There you go, collaboration.
A lot of times people just think what I have to do on my own or by myself. And there could be something that you could leverage as other people, because now that kind of lessens the full weight on just you, but also lessens weight on them too. But also they could be looking for somebody else to say, let's do something together, let's collaborate, let's partner. And I think there's not enough of that happening that actually could create a lot more opportunity for people, to leverage their talents and their skills, but in a way, because again, running a business is not easy, right? So we don't want to try to paint that picture either. But if you're partnered with somebody, you all have like hearts, and let's say you have complementary talents, you don't have to be doing the same thing.
That's right.
Your talents or your skills or interests complement one another, and now you could create something together. And again, it could be something as easy as, we're good at baking, and you're good at selling the cookies, I'm good at baking them.
There you go.
We're going to go figure it out, right? Or people on the other end who do have, let's say, maybe technical skills. Or let's say you're just really good at Microsoft Excel. Right. And finding people who hate Microsoft Excel. Right. And you could help them with building spreadsheets. I mean, so sometimes, like I said, we think so far down the line, but sometimes it could be simple things, that could be done too, right? So then you grow into something bigger.
And I think that's a great way to look at it, because if you think about it from a connection standpoint, and I think that's a very important place, because we all need somebody to collaborate with, right?
Absolutely.
Being in a, just isolated, as a business, it's a hard thing to do. Right. But I think when you connect with people who are like-minded and you say, man, you know what? Yeah, I'm looking at doing this. Okay, cool. I was talking to a friend of mine that I grew up with, and he was talking about lawn care services. And he was saying, hey, man, they got this new thing now where you can go on the app and people can find your service and that kind of thing. And they launched that, and they've been very successful, at it. He was just kind of sharing some opportunities that sort of came his way through that, and he's working with someone else, right? So he's like, man, look, I could do this part, you could do that part. Funny story, he was like, yeah, I don't mess with the weed whacker at all, right? That's not my thing, right? But the other guy, he's really good at it, right? And so, but so to your point about what are you good at, what am I good at? Hey, we can do this, and we're making it work. At the same time, the other guy is a full-time mechanic, and so when you look at it from that standpoint, you also open up the door to give opportunity to somebody else, because now you're saying, hey, where you can fill in the gap, I'm willing to work with you. Just know I'm not going to be here at this set of time, and you can manage that. I'll manage this, and we can keep growing together. So I think it's a way to leverage your time, right? You know, with somebody else, because where you might have 5 hours and I have 5 hours, now we have 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
and to build on that, right? Of course, technology is a tool.
Yeah,
is a solution, and I know some people are still fearful of not the basics of AI, right? A lot of people go on chat, Claude, whatever. But when we think about AI agents, right, there are things that actually could do automated processes and systems for you.
Yeah.
And I know for some people, again, that's a long conversation down the line.
Right.
And it's like, it's too fearful. We need more time to break that down. But what I would say, right, is another solution that's been around literally for many, many years that could be more of a leverage, and that could be a virtual assistant, right?
Yeah.
And this is a person that literally, let's say while I'm at work during the day, they could be managing my emails, right? They could be responding to emails, right? They could be out there potentially marketing, small investment, exactly. And so even resources like that, and again, it may not be you hire somebody, again, maybe it's a spouse or a friend or somebody in the PTA group that loves administrative tasks and could manage that for you. Because even as we talk about, again, if you're at work 8 hours a day, however long you're at work, right? There are some things, again, to respect your time at the employer, you shouldn't be focused on, right? At least in terms of managing that process, but that could be managed by somebody else while you're at work, right? And there are people out there. Again, some people automatically think technology. Yes, you can do that, but let's say that's the graduated level, right? But there are virtual assistants, right? And people who love administrative work, love those tasks, and are great at helping keep you organized. Because I think that's part of the issue too, is you got to be able to stay organized, right? You got to be able to manage in two different places. And if your attention isn't on your business during the day, because of how your schedule is, but if somebody is managing that for you, it can still be just as effective.
And I think as you say that, brought me to another point that I thought about, because you can't be a arrogant hyperpreneur, right? And what I mean by that is, just to break it down, once you get to a place, if you're at work and you're like, I don't need this job, then it's probably time for you to resign. Right. Don't because the thing is, it's not supposed to be that. It's not supposed to be like, oh man, I don't need this. Y'all need this. I don't need. I got this.
Y'all need me more than I need you.
No, you're right. We don't need you at all. Right. And that's why I'm speaking from the standpoint as an employer, because I think the goal is to elevate your team. Right. I often sit down, and this one of the questions that I started the year off with is, what are your goals? Right. How can we help you to elevate, what it is that you do? And, as you know, because we have family that work for us, right? But they're also launching their own things, right? And I'm like, hey man, more power, let's do it, right? Isaiah's launching his own brand, podcast, and everything, and he's legitimizing the business and all of that. Bryce is setting up, his own thing. In fact, we were just in here doing headshots and video for his website and all of this stuff, right? I don't feel threatened by it. I'm actually encouraged, because I'm like, man, this is what we working towards, right? This is how we work together. This is how we build. This is how we get to the next step. And so I think when you look at it from that perspective as an employee, you become somebody who can now pour into them. And, at least at the level that I look at it from, is like, it might be an opportunity to invest in somebody early, right? As they're growing, right? And doing what it is they're doing. And so, and I know everybody's at different levels of things that they're doing, but I just think that the mindset has to be one of, if this is the type of personality or person that we say we want, when we get them, we then shouldn't try to hold them back. Right. Absolutely. So I'll go back to the preaching concept, right? We talked about pastors. It's the equivalent of, we got 5 ministers of, all preachers that can preach, but we ain't gonna let none of them preach. Right. So, and I know historically, I didn't grow up, as a preacher in the church, that kind of thing. But I've heard the stories of, man, you sitting there, you waiting, but you never get an opportunity. What's the sense of that? Like, their gift is not being elevated, and it can't be appreciated. Right. Which is why a lot of churches, in my opinion, what happens is, once the pastor either retires or resigns or passes away, people leave because they never heard from anybody else. Right. It was never
that one voice.
Right. It's like, man, okay. I'm not finna listen to you, right? And sometimes it don't have to be, retirement, resignation, or passed away. He not preaching this Sunday, unless it's a guest preacher that coming from out of town, and which is a whole nother thing that we could talk about at another time. This is the profit formula, anyway.
No, you're right, but to me, I think one of the greatest, I'd say for churches and organizations, to me, is leadership development. One of the greatest things you could say about them is their ability to develop leaders. Right. And in terms of whoever has come into a process and now they're better when they leave, either get elevated, promoted, or when they're leaving out the door, going somewhere else, that it's actually both of y'all can celebrate what that process was and that person is now better.
That's good.
You know what I mean? And so I think, I don't think a lot of churches don't, some do it well, but a lot of them don't, right? Because oftentimes the leader feels threatened. Right. But oftentimes that happens also in businesses too.
Does.
With employers, people, feel threatened by new people coming in, or if they see them as more talented or more whatever, that they don't get those opportunities to shine because the person over them, feels threatened by the talent or what they see.
Instead of seeing them as an asset.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. In my opinion, I want to hire up.
Absolutely.
Right.
Exactly. Develop growth. I mean, because that benefit, to me, the benefits the organization.
Exactly.
Right. Not just that individual person.
100%. And I think, to your point, why would I be, afraid of somebody else being able to actually perform at a high level?
Absolutely.
Like, that's an internal problem. I mean, personal internal problem. Like, man, I saw what was in you, and that's what I wanted. That's why I hired you.
Exactly.
Now I'm threatened by it. Okay.
Now why am I trying to keep it under control versus helping it flourish?
I want it to grow. I want it to go. And to the point, like, for me, and maybe I'm just a little crazy this way, I think when you help somebody else to excel in what it is that they're doing, right, even if they end up, let's just say, in a better position than you, at least I could say I had a hand in that.
Right. Absolutely.
And
you can become known for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And, cultivating talent. Right.
Absolutely.
Being able to identify people who are, good at things that, will take the company to the next level. But I think, for some people, you may be out there and you might be thinking about, man, I want to do something else and I'm not sure what it is. Or in some, you're already doing it, but you've been kind of, fearful of, what it might look like. I would just say, just think about it from the standpoint, if you are giving 100% in both places, and I know some people say, oh man, you can't do 100%. Yeah, well, you actually can. It's, how you manage each area of your life. Because I look at it like being a parent, I'm 100% a parent as well as I'm 100% a husband, right? It's just two different ways that you facilitate those things, right? And so we often call it wearing multiple hats, right? And so when this hat is on, that hat is off. And it's the same concept when it comes to, what you're doing from a work perspective. Don't steal from, your company, whether that's time, whether that's equipment, be willing to invest in your own tools. If it's something that you do that requires that, whether it's software or, whatever it is, but be willing to invest in yourself, 100%. Don't take from somebody else and then say, this is what I'm doing, because then, that's not accurate, right? You're being a thief.
Exactly. Right. And you will get fired.
Right.
It could be even worse.
And be prosecuted.
And be prosecuted. Exactly.
Like, man.
But definitely, like I said, and I believe as we kind of bring this one to a close, a lot of people could be struggling with this, right? Whether it be how to transition to it, or maybe we're bringing something new to them they hadn't even thought about. It's like, man, where do I go next? Come here next. Right. In terms of come to the Profit Formula live event. Right, that's happening on May the 15th, where we'll be talking about these principles and others, and how to not just start, but how to grow and help something flourish. But also, if you're just saying, I want some coaching or some advice on one-on-one, like both of us are available, even from that standpoint, for you to reach out to us, schedule some time, and help you kind of maybe navigate through some of these spaces from that standpoint. So just want to put that out there, because again, I think sometimes people will hear something, and they may feel stuck in terms of, okay, sounds great, but I'm not sure what to do next. Come come see us.
Yeah.
Right. From that standpoint.
100%. And then while you're at it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Yep.
You know, like, share. Like I said, this is our first live Profit Formula podcast.
We're doing more. This is the first of many.
First of many. But we wanted to sit down and just we were having a conversation and said, man, you know, this would be good to talk about. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you are looking to grow your business, you're already in business and you're looking to expand it, you definitely want to be at the workshop. So you can follow the information that's going to come next, and it'll tell you how to register. Go ahead and click that QR code or scan it or whatever it is that you do, the link in the description, and get registered, and we will see you at the Profit Formula Workshop.
Absolutely. So thank y'all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon.
I'm Paul Wilson Jr., founder and CEO of Paul Wilson Global Solutions. I'm also co-host of the Profit Formula Podcast.
Hey, my name is Michael Upshaw. I'm the co-host of the Profit Formula Podcast.
And I'm excited to announce that we're launching our very first live event, the Profit Formula.
We're going to talk about how to